Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 3 of business writing. I wanted to start off with an apology. I'm sorry I haven't been as active on the discussion boards this week as I was in the first week. Everyone turning in their assignments late on Sunday last week kind of messed up, I should say, my schedule a little bit because I wasn't expecting sort of everything at once, but that's okay. It just threw me off schedule. This week, I'll make some changes to how I grade and when I grade, and I'll make sure to be back on top of the discussions for week 3. Although I did get to read everything that's on the discussion boards right now, I really liked particularly how many people chose lifestyle and clothing brands to do their rhetorical analysis on. I feel like by next week, maybe I'll be wearing better clothes or something like that because of the cool brands you all found. And then I was surprised that a lot of people focused on terms they used in their majors and learned at UD. I was hoping we were going to learn a little bit more slang and things like that, but it was cool to see what kinds of jargon there are out there, I should say. And so this week is all about proposal writing, except for we'll have one brief slide and one brief assignment on quotables and sound bites as well, which are important parts of business writing, particularly when you get into leadership positions. But without further ado, let's jump over to the slideshow for today. And I just titled this one pre-proposal writing. So this is just stuff to think about before you actually sit down and write a proposal, which you will get an assignment for this week. And again, just one more quick disclaimer. Sorry, I'm putting the content off a little bit, but quick disclaimer, make sure to read the assignments and the discussions thoroughly for this week because they have to be done in a particular order. So I'll put that in my message to you all as well, but make sure to look out for that. But yeah, here's some info on pre-proposal writing. So before you even start to sit down and write a proposal, it's usually best to recognize that everyone wants things to be better, and not everybody has a really clear definition of what that means. But in any school environment, in any work environment, you'll find yourself in, it's very rare you'll sit down and you'll think, wow, everything is just perfect. This is great. I want nothing to change. And so proposals are in response to this feeling that pretty much everywhere you'll go, you'll find something where you think, you know what, I think this could be done a little bit better or should be envisioned a little bit differently. And so that's what proposals are all about. And so centrally to proposals is the question, how do we make things better? This list comes from Scott Wibble, who is actually thinking about design thinking and how do we design things. But his steps also give us a good roadmap for how we can just make things better, whether it's in an institution or in an organization and so on. But he says we start with empathy mode, and that's more or less just kind of living our lives. And so we go about our everyday and we see what we encounter, we see what we like, we see what we don't like. And then we get into define mode, where all of a sudden we start thinking about those things we don't like, and we think about how we can put them into claims and articulate them and say, maybe what about them we don't like. Ideate mode is when we start to get into collaborative engagement with a problem. So once you've realized something, and maybe you've had this with problems on campus, which I'm going to make part of your assignment. But in ideate mode, you start to go around to the people around you and you say, hey, are you sort of having this problem too? Are you seeing it the same way? But essentially ideate mode is any kind of collaboration. And then lastly, we get into prototyping mode and test mode, both of which are about creating artifacts. Prototyping mode, in this case, the artifact you're going to create is a proposal. And then test mode is kind of putting it out in the world and seeing if the proposal works. Obviously, we're not going to do that too much in this class, but I am going to create a discussion post for you for this week, where maybe we can think a little bit about how we're prototyping, about how we're testing. But that's one model for making things better. Another one comes from entrepreneurship. If you've been involved with Horn Entrepreneurship on campus here at UD, you've certainly seen this laid out for making things better. But their 4-step process is to define a problem and then to validate the problem. So basically, you're living your life, you encounter some problem, and validating it is going around and figuring out, hey, is everybody else having this problem? Are they having it in the same way? Then you go back to the drawing board and you kind of brainstorm about what the solution is. And then you go back out and you ask everybody, hey, is this does this solution make sense or will it work? And so those are two models for how we make things better that are borrowed from design thinking and entrepreneurship, respectively. So to wrap up today's lecture, the artifact that we're going to work on, the way that we're going to make things better in this course, or what we're going to work with, is the proposal. And so just to define what this word is, a proposal is a solution to a problem. And so at no point in your proposal should you find yourself straying too far from either the problem itself you're trying to define and overcome, or the solution to that problem. The structure is simple. A should do B because of C, which is the sort of stand-in, I guess you could think, excuse me, for the thesis statement. It's basically a causal type of argument, as in if A can do one thing, C should be the outcome. And so I'll show you in the next lecture where exactly you should put that kind of statement in your proposal. But overall, the structure of the paper is this as well. And since it's business writing, let's not think about it as a paper, but think about it as an artifact or a deliverable. And lastly, you should know there's two types of proposals. There's practice-based ones that offer really practical advice for maybe what one person can do or what one person can change, maybe one organization as well, but basically very simple, very practice approached. So an example would be Professor Repetto should assign less homework because the course is already difficult enough. It gives me one person, Professor Repetto, what exactly I should do, assign less homework, and the why. Because the course is already difficult enough. And then there's another type of proposal called a policy-based proposal. These ones are a little bit maybe less clear about who the stakeholder is that needs to take action, and they think maybe on the grander scale as well. But a policy-based proposal would be something like the university should prioritizing preventing climate change because our future depends on it. So you have a really clear A should do B because of C, but the university, it's not entirely clear who exactly that means. Prioritize preventing climate change. Again, how exactly do we do that? And C, even that's a little open-ended. Neither one's better than the other, but they're just thinking on different scales and two different audiences. So that's the rundown on making things better and what a proposal is. And your next two lectures will be digging a little deeper into what the structure of the proposal should look like. And then we'll get into a little bit of quotables and sound bites. Thanks, everyone.